Well, welcome to a special Zwift coaching podcast. Matt Rowe here with Coach Hendy. How you doing, Greg?
Hey, mate. I'm doing well. How you doing?
Yeah, top man. Been a little bit better, but all good in the big scheme of things. A little bit of a sore throat from being in Paris over the weekend, but yeah, that's behind us now. All in good cause. And obviously Kev here as well. How you doing, Kev?
Good, thanks, Matt. And hi, Greg.
Hey, mate. How you doing?
Good stuff. So, as I mentioned, this is a special podcast where we're going to discuss the new shiny course on Zwift, which is based on the 2018 World Road Race Championships course. And this is in the city of Innsbruck. Now, Innsbruck is the capital of Austria's western state of Tirol and is a city in the Alps that's long been a destination for winter sports. Innsbruck is Austria's fifth largest city and also known for its imperial and modern architecture. Now, Greg, you went out to Innsbruck and reconned the course and fed that back to Zwift so the tech guys can then do the clever bit and create the course and the map. So just want to tell us a bit about your trip.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to do, like you said, a real life recon, and it was, so the actual course that Zwift has actually built is just the small laps inside the circuit, but the actual road race will actually include a 90-kilometer run-in, which every race does, and then you hit this inner circuit of the city, which is just, it's really super intense. It's got these really hard, difficult climbs, these really technical descents, and then these beautiful streets that you go through, some cobbled cities and cobbled streets, and then again you loop back around and you hit the same circuit again. So in real life it was just beautiful, and then to see what they actually did with the data, with the footage, what I had to do was obviously come up with percentage of gradients. I had to come up with footage with a 3D camera. So it was what they've actually done, and the way it rides now, it's just incredible. It's absolutely so accurate to what I wrote it when I went out there, many months ago.
So you'll see that street there on the left, that's where they come back out. Again, it was about a K, a few little clinkers, we call them. They're not real cobbles, not Paris-Roubaix, Flanders or anything like that. The main circuit turns right, so we'll actually have to do that 7 times. They will have to do that 7 times. So we're in the town circuit now. This is, where people will be catching back on, or, if you're at the front, people will be taking a rest, a breather, but it's quite scenic through here. It's very nice. Tram tracks down the middle, but I asked if they're going to cover them, and he thought I was joking to begin with. Well, then I thought he was joking, and then we both weren't too sure if we were both joking, but they are covering the tram tracks. So that will basically go down there 1.3 kilometres, I think he said, which is just nice, and it's a bit of cobbles, nothing Paris-Roubaix cobbles, but it's just, a nice part of the area, and that leads you straight into the bottom of the climb, which will potentially, should decide if the race hasn't been decided already, it will decide the race. Final descent to the finish line, you've got about 4K to go, 2.5 of it downhill at 90k an hour, and then 1.5k once you hit the flat to the finish line. Someone will drop it on this corner, no question. Someone will be over there having a picnic 600 feet down there. Even though as hard as the race is, it's ridiculously hard. And like I mentioned before, sometimes when a race is this hard, it scares the peloton. They're too scared to launch into it from the beginning, but they can't afford to take that risk. They can't afford to do 4 or 5 laps easy up the first circuit, because you're still going to have guys like Sagan there, or Tony Galopin or Alaphilippe, guys that can punch it up these steep climbs once. So the race, they're going to have to open the race early, which leads to the point I'm trying to make is you're going to get a worthy world champion. It's not going to be, some guys just slipped on the back and managed to make contact with a K to go and just beat them all in a sprint. You're actually going to get the best climber in the world will win this, and I've got no problem with that. I really enjoy that. I think there should be years where a classics rider should win the Worlds. There should be a year when the sprinter wins the Worlds, and obviously there should be a time when the world's best climber can take the rainbow jersey. So this course has got it all. You're going to get a worthy champ.
Lovely. And what equipment did you use to collect that data over there in Innsbruck?
So I had a few things attached to my dashboard. I had a Verb 360 camera, so you could get a vision of everything around me. That actually also does altitude, it does percentage gradient at the time. It also plots out a course. But I also had a Garmin, just a normal Garmin 1000 computer, just in case, something... didn't work correctly or my altitude. And because then the easiest thing there to do is to get a course profile is you just put it straight into Training Peaks and there's your course profile, absolutely accurate, and it gives you gives you percent gradient, the distance of the climbs, and then of course obviously every street that you're going down, left, right, left, how long. So it seemed kind of technical, but when I was a little bit daunted by it, but to be honest, it worked out really simple, and of course once you give it to the gurus at Zwift, they know exactly what they're doing.
Absolutely. So obviously at the Worlds there are 5 world champs, and they all take in this Zwift lap that's being created. So you mentioned, Greg, there's the kind of the outward leg to the main loop. So the elite men do 6 laps of the World's main loop, which is going to be on Zwift, totaling 258 kilometers. The elite women do 3 laps, totaling 156k. The under 23 men do 4 laps, 180k race. And the junior men, 2 laps and a 132k race. And then the junior women do 1 lap, so it's a 71 kilometer race. And again, obviously the style of racing is going to be hugely different across those different categories. And I think the elite men, the race is going to kick off on that inward leg. I mean, is it 90 odd K, that inward stretch, guys?
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's 90k is just about on the banger. It's and then you hit the final. Well, it's the final circuit for most of the races, other than the actual elite men. And that was the one thing I noticed, and I reported back to the guys, Zwift, and I said the junior men versus the elite men, it's going to be a totally different bike race. So you've got there's a sense on this road race that it's so technical and they're so fast, so steep, and because the actual junior men, it's such a short race. You're only doing 2 laps of this circuit, so there's a chance the sprinters can still actually be in contact, because there's enough time at the bottom of the climb. There's enough flat section afterwards to come back. So I mean, I can just see some massive risks being taken on these descents. I think it's I don't want to say entertaining racing, but it's going to be a totally different ball game. Compare that to the elite men, where they've got 6 laps, and actually their 7th lap still includes that small circuit, and then they shoot up that last wall where I think that's where the race will be won and lost.
Yeah, good stuff. And we've obviously all ridden the course. Kev, what's your initial take on the Zwift course?
Well, the first thing is it's always amazing how real it is and how accurate, and that's something we've come to expect from Zwift, and this is no different. So obviously we've ridden the course on Zwift already, and Greg's ridden it in real life. And as a coach, what's exciting about it is that we're going to have athletes that are going to be able to train predominantly on Zwift for the World Championships. And this is where Zwift is really changing the way that professionals change, and they're changing the whole landscape of training for all riders now. So in terms of a national team, they're going to be saving money by not having to send large teams to do reconnaissance of the course. Training camps can be held in their own locations at home. And straight away thinking about the training involved for this race, to be able to replicate the climb metre for metre, gradient by gradient, it's just the ideal landscape to get the best performance for our riders.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously for the the big cycling nations often do have the budgets. They still can send riders out at least to do, I guess, one ride or one weekend of reconning. But for some of the smaller nations, especially, this is, as you say, absolute game changer. I mean, you can ride on the world's course, near as damn it, from the comfort of your own home. So absolute game changer. Obviously, some of the benefits being not just the not having to travel and the time away from training and all that distraction, but as you say, the financial savings for these nations. big.
Yeah, and also for any user, for the average user, what they're going to be able to experience is the world's course, and they're going to be able to actually train with a lot of professional riders who are going to be on there. So I can pretty much guarantee you that anytime you go onto Zwift, onto the world's course in Austria, there's going to be many pros on there doing their training. So it's a good chance for other riders to see how the pros are training, how fast they're going, compare yourself to their performance, and experience the climb for what it is. But what I would really encourage people to do is when they do their settings on their smart trainers and on Zwift, put the setting to 100% for the realism on the gradient, and that way you really get the proper feel for what it's like to ride this climb.
Absolutely. You're going to see them and like, don't be demoralised if you don't get the KOM jersey, because like you said, there's going to be so many pros on there. They're going to be flying up there, and it's going to be great. I mean, I'm actually looking forward. I'm so unfit now compared to what I used to be, but I'm looking forward to getting on and just riding with a couple of the pros every now and then, and then all of a sudden, you'll chat to them and they'll say, right, I've actually got to go and do my specific intervals on this climb now. And it's like, you just see them take off in the distance. It gives you a really nice feeling and an appreciation of how fast the pros will actually be training on that circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Kev, you're probably a bit better than me positioned to comment on this, but from a training perspective, we've got the Finchen loop on Zwift. So for those pros, just want to give us a bit of an idea on what kind of the training looks like. I mean, I'm presuming it's a case of go out on the road, get a good few hours in to kind of replicate that first 90k inward leg or so, and then do some more specific course training on Zwift in the afternoon maybe?
Yeah, that's a good starting point. And I guess some of the notes that I wrote down when I first saw the course released and then also knew it was going to be on Zwift was something we spoke about on an earlier podcast, and that was efficiency on climbing. So when a race demands that you have to perform repeated climbs, the more efficient we are over the first climb, the second climb, we're going to be better for the last climb. So this is that exact course now where the pros have to do 6 laps of the smaller loop first over the 8 kilometre climb, and then finish with the big one at the end. So first of all, my thought is focusing on cadence when climbing, so get that as high as we can and as efficient as we can. The other thing I thought about too was when we perform our intervals, perform then in a continuous state. So by this I mean perform then as a long 20-minute interval. So you might be doing 2 minutes as a race acceleration, and then instead of turning around, going down the climb for recovery and then coming back up, continue up the climb and have your recovery going up the climb and then do the next effort after that. Because for our professionals, it's going to involve 20-minute climbs of race surges, race accelerations with very little recovery in between. So in terms of training for that, we need to make sure we're doing our efforts on one long continuous climb as well.
What I've actually noticed with the World Championships that I've ridden is, and this is probably something else that we would build into a training program, is most World Championships are like what we would call a ramp test. It starts off where the favourite nations will take control, and each lap, we go up at a certain speed, a certain power output, and just every lap it gets a little bit faster, and until, all of a sudden they decide, right, now's the time we drop the hammer, and they usually last 2, maybe 3 laps, that it's just increasingly harder and harder and harder until the bunch just gets smaller from behind, and then there's that big explosion. So that's another way you can always progress your intervals, and you have to increase that fatigue resistance, so you want to make the intervals progressively harder if you want to absolutely simulate the way the race is actually going to take effect.
Yeah, and so you say about that big ramped effect, that's obviously the pro style of racing, but for amateurs, I often say, if you look at the speed of a race, it normally kind of starts, it's an opposite to a ramp test, so you kind of start quick, everyone's excited, and then kind of slows down, where obviously you haven't got that strength and depth, there's obviously not that that depth of teamwork, I guess, which leads to that ramping effort. But you say about the big cycling nations ramping up from the start and working hard. I'm just thinking, what are those big cycling nations? Obviously, you've got Wales or GB, France, the Dutch, Italians, New Zealand, of course. I mean, all those big cycling nations are going to be really active from kilometre zero, I'd say.
I think you forgot someone there, Matt.
Swedish, of course. Sorry to all those Swedes out there. Spanish, of course.
The Spanish.
And the Australians.
The Australians. Yeah. Actually, I'll just be honest with you. There's actually be a new world champion this year. You guys will never ever pick it for the men's elites road race, and it's going to be young George Bennett. He's the perfect figure. He's the perfect weight distribution for this type of course. The final climb. I mean, he weighs absolutely. He's got sparrow's elbows. He weighs nothing, and it's a really steep climb where power to weight ratio is going to be absolutely essential. And he's light, and he's consistently powerful over long distances. So that's my pick for the men's road race is young Kiwi George Bennett.
Well, that's nice, Greg, but I think we have an Australian rider that's having a bit of a break at the moment from training from the Tour de France, and he's going to be on good form for the Worlds, and that's Richie Porte. So I think he has a good period of time to train for this one, and he's going to be on his best form.
While we're all picking, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. I'm not going to go the Welsh favourite, as many people may think in Geraint Thomas. I think he may be still sobering up come the Worlds, but I'm going to go for... I'm going to go for Vincenzo Nibali, the Italian rider. I think, we're speaking about the profile of the course, kind of for the men, it finishes over the top of a climb, then there's a short descent of a couple of K down to the finish. So I think Nibali's descending technique is going to win in the race on the men's side. What about the women's side, guys?
My honest opinion, I think Annemiek van Vleuten, I know she's gone there and done some specific work, and she's reconned the course herself, and I really think she wants to show them, Rio, she was head and shoulders above, she had it wrapped up. Rio Olympic Games, she unfortunately had that terrible crash on the descent, and it cost her Olympic gold, and so she's proven to the world she's one of the best climbers, and I think she's going to prove it again.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one there, Greg. I think Annemiek, the way she prepares for her target events, she leaves no stone unturned, and when she sets herself a goal, she does everything to achieve that, and I'm sure she's going to be on good form for World Championships.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a very, very solid pick there. I'm gonna go for one of her Dutch teammates, actually, Marianne Vos, who's I guess undoubtedly the best female bike rider of all time. I think Annemiek will be probably the race favourite. But I think she'll be fairly heavily marked. I think Vos is obviously very experienced, very clever. I can see Vos kind of getting her away in the closing stages. I mean, she's a very good classics rider, very good head on her, very clever. So I'm going to go for Marianne Vos.
That's a good pick too. She's proven under pressure, isn't she? She's proven time and time again on many disciplines that she knows how to win world championships, and that's actually part of being a great bike rider. You can put out all these numbers in training, you can put out all these numbers, and show your coach how strong things are going, but you actually have to know how to win, and that's actually one of the most important things I teach a lot of my athletes is you have to learn how to win. And Marianne Vos is just one of those riders that once you get her in those situations, once you get her in a winning situation, they know how to win from that situation.
Yeah, and as I say about that, knowing how to win and the tactical side of things, I always say that is hugely underrated, and it's something we done at British Cycling as youth and junior riders. Was race replication. You'd all be kind of given a role, and you'd have to execute that role, and all the races would be filmed and then fed back to you, so you can kind of critique each other and critique yourself and kind of upskill and learn. And I think a lot of that, the tactical side of things, from a young age, that's where you really learn, like a sponge. As a junior and youth riders, you just taking on all this experience and just developing week by week almost. So
that's definitely, I totally agree with that.
Obviously, another exciting race will be the under 23 men's. Lots of contracts on the line there. Going to be exciting. Obviously, the future generations, the juniors. As you mentioned earlier, Greg, that could be where a couple of excited juniors come flying around the bend and may overcook it. So guaranteed to be action packed, even if it's not the kind of the type of action you want to be seeing, really.
It's good that you mentioned contracts there, Matt, because with Zwift Academy starting in August as well as the World's course being released, it's a good opportunity for coaches and directors to do some talent identification. There's going to be a lot of people riding those climbs, and we know that it's a real world course, so we know what a good watts per kilogram is going to be on this course. So as long as with Zwift Academy, we also have the World's course to train on as well, and do some identification of talented riders there as well.
Yeah, can you imagine if Zwift actually got to release the data that they must have accumulated over the years? Like, imagine if some pro team actually paid Zwift and said, look, we would like the watts per kilo or your highest, 15, 20 bike riders. I mean, that they must have the biggest data collection of any like computer generated program than anything else. I mean, they just must log so many personal details that, imagine what a World Tour team would do. They would pay so much money to know the information that Zwift has. It would be great. And then, of course, you're going to now have exactly what watts per kilo you have to do to get up this climb with the pros. So it's, it's just an incredible training tool. It's invaluable.
Yeah, and this is a good example of how far Zwift has come. Like since 2015 Richmond Worlds, where back then it was new, it was a bit of a gimmick to ride the Worlds course, and there wasn't a whole lot of pros on their training for the Worlds. But now, just the excitement amongst the riders that are going to be riding Worlds, representing their country, that they know they can train on the course beforehand. Like we've said before, it's just going to be jam-packed with professionals training on Zwift all the time for this, and it's a good chance for everyone to ride along with them and see how they train.
Yeah, and it's obviously an opportunity for any pro or anyone going to ride the Worlds to turn up with, having been hugely experienced on the course. I mean, you can sit on the start line as a competitor for this year's Worlds thinking, well, I know the course inside out. I've trained on it for X number of days. Nothing to fear. So it's just one of those boxes you can easily tick out.
Yeah, and that's like, I was just thinking again about the juniors. I was like, you know what? They'll know every turn. They'll know every corner. They'll know, okay, this one's really sharp. Okay, this one opens up, because Zwift's just done a perfect job of replicating the course. So it's there should actually be nothing left to chance when you come and race at the World Championships now, because Zwift has done such an amazing job.
Sorry there, Matt. Just in terms of training for the general user, we should let them know that these are long climbs that you're going to experience on the World's course in Austria. Like one climb is 7.9 kilometres long with an average gradient of 5.7%. But as Greg mentioned, it has sections of up to 10%. And the other climb that will be on Zwift that you'll experience, it's 2.8 kilometres long with an average gradient of 11.5%. But it does have sudden sections of up to 20% there as well. So these are huge climbs.
Huge climbs, and obviously for especially the juniors, so the junior women only do one lap. So it's literally one. You're going to go up these climbs once, and you've got one opportunity to get it right before that world champion is crowned. And even for the junior men, 2 laps. So there's no room for error really here. So again, being as experienced as possible and getting as many laps in, so as best as possible, is going to be absolutely critical, especially for those junior categories.
Totally agree. And absolutely, no, that's just going to be... I've actually just got one question for you, Matt. And if you could sum up in 30 seconds what it's like to have a Welsh winner of the Tour de France, your time can start now.
I think that the first word, I mean, G's used it a lot, is insane. I mean, having known him since a kid, it's surreal, and I think the whole nation is just elated. I mean, we got a castle in Cardiff, and they put yellow lights on the castle, and like 30,000 of people come out to watch it. And it goes to show now how cycling is taking over here in the UK. I mean, G, you know him quite well as well, Greg. I know he's, I think, it's just amazing. I think I'm almost as stuck for words as G is himself. And that mic drop he done on the stage, that was awesome, eh?
Yeah, what a legend. Well done. What a legend. I just was absolutely stoked. I know G really well. He actually led me out for a couple of years on Team Sky. He was like my last man for a couple of years, and just a great guy, just selfless. He's just such a great teammate, and just to see him, take that next step, you can just tell he just genuinely, he was just genuinely so happy and so amazed and so surprised, everything at the same time. But I honestly thought, Matt, maybe you might be able to sum it up in one word, and that might be like hangover.
I knew you'd squeeze that in. And was it my voice that gave it away? Was it? That's one thing the Welsh do: drink and sing. So I think it's mainly the singing that's done me in. Hopefully this audio comes across okay. But no, G's one of those guys. He would have happily gone into the Tour, and if Froome was in the better position, he would have sacrificed himself, as he has done countless times before, for the greater good, or for the team, and for another rider, whether it's Froome or someone else. So for the kind of the shoe to be on the other foot is justified, and I think it's amazing.
So Matt, you've got the inside scoop here, and you might be able to answer this question. Was there any rivalry between Froome and Thomas?
I mean, I genuinely, no, I don't think there was. I mean, I think they're just both professionals. I think Froome was quite open going into the race, saying, I'm going to the Tour de France to win. And I think kind of G went in as protected rider with Froome as leader. But obviously in the first week, as we know, the role of these domestiques, so Luke and obviously Matt Hayman and the role of their job is just invaluable. So in that first week, Froome lost a bit of time, G didn't, and then obviously G's kind of a minute up by the time they hit the first set of mountains. So no, I think they both wanted to win, but I think they both professionals, and it was all about the greater good in the team. So I think as it was, obviously you could see Froome on the last couple of stages, was riding on the front and really getting stuck in for G. So I think they're just true professionals and just doing their job. And I think they're happy. I think Froome was generally happy for G.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so if you're heading out to the Worlds to watch it live in Innsbruck, then keep an eye out for Zwift. They're going to be there doing a few cool things. They'll be there with a stand. You can come find out more about Zwift and maybe even have a little pedal. But yeah, hopefully that podcast chat with Greg and Kev gives you a bit of insight into what the Worlds is going to entail, how the race may unfold, and get stuck in, get on the Zwift course, and feel what it's like to ride the Worlds like the pros have experience. So as always, chaps, good to chat. Catch you soon.
Cheers, guys, and absolutely look forward to seeing seeing everyone out on the Innsbruck course, and no doubt you'll see plenty of professionals out there training their little backsides off, because it's absolutely accurate. So pleasure again, guys, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. As you both said there, it's going to be very busy on the course, and looking forward to seeing everybody out there.